On this edition, I'm just going to break down and predict the upcoming Strikeforce card that's taking place tomorrow. Now, obviously, the main event of this card, it's just Strikeforce Rockhold versus Kennedy. Now, the thing about Strikeforce cards is that they always seem to fly under the radar, and quite frankly, this Strikeforce card is one that you should not miss. Now, I'm not going to go out there and say that this is the best Strikeforce card of all time, but there's some fights on this card that have potential to make it an outstanding card. So what I'm just going to do, I'm just going to break down all the fighters on the main card because there are a lot of fights. I'm just going to do the 4 fights on the main card. Just break down the fighters and offer my prediction. So the first fight of the night is Ruthless Robbie Lawler versus Lorenz Larkin. Now, if there is any fight that should be up for fight of the night, it's most definitely this fight. Both guys are very skilled stand-up fighters who like to brawl. In a sense. So you have Lorenz Larkin, kung fu background, boxing. He does have a pretty formidable ground game. It's very hard to see what his ground game is like, especially against a guy like King Mo Lawal. His chin was tested in that fight. We did see him get TKO'd. Obviously, that was a no contest, given the fact that King Mo Lawal did test positive for a banned substance. However, Lorenz Larkin, he's much faster. The much faster fighter in this fight. He is the more dynamic striker in this fight. He does have good power. I don't see him personally finishing Robbie Lawler. Robbie Lawler is practically, he's darn near impossible to finish. Outstanding chin. Larkin has a good chin. We saw it get exposed. But he's much faster in this fight. He has a lot of weapons in his arsenal. And he pops in and out of the pocket, throws a lot of leg kicks given his kung fu background in different varieties. And he does throw his hands as well. He moves very well in the octagon. I think if he's successful in this fight, I think it will go to decision, and if it does go to decision, it'll be because he's outpointed Robbie Lawler. Then you have a fighter like Robbie Lawler. Robbie Lawler has power in both his hands. He does have wrestling in his arsenal. It could come to play in this fight. I personally don't see it. I think Robbie Lawler and Lorenz Larkin are going to stand toe-to-toe. Robbie Lawler has the ability to finish the fight in the blink of an eye. That's what he does. He can finish it at any time of the fight. And that's something that he does possess. He has an outstanding chin. The only guy to ever knock this guy out was Nick Diaz. And outstanding fighter. Obviously, Robbie Lawler's getting up there in age. But if Robbie Lawler's successful in this fight, there's no doubt about it. It's if he knocks out or TKOs Lorenz Larkin. So where my prediction lies is I'd love to go Robbie Lawler. I think going with the guy who has more experience and has a very battle-tested chin would be a safe bet. But I see Lorenz Larkin coming in with a game plan and picking his spots and outpointing Robbie Lawler. Given all the weapons in his arsenal, I see leg kicks being a huge factor. I see him outpointing Robbie Lawler in this fight and winning the fight via unanimous decision. The next fight on the card is Gracie versus Keith Jardine. Now, quite frankly, this is the hardest fight to predict on this card, no doubt about it, because you have a fighter like Gracie, who is one of the most skilled and talented Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioners in mixed martial arts. If the fight gets to the ground, he will finish you. That's just how good he is at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. His striking needs to improve leaps and bounds. He has a long way to come in his striking game. He does throw very good knees out of the clinch if he is to get you there. But his takedown, it's just, I don't see him taking down a guy like Keith Jardine. That's a very tall task. You have a guy like Keith Jardine who likes to brawl. He likes to press forward. He has good power in his hands. He has a pretty formidable chin. I mean, Keith Jardine has been known to take a beating. He's never been submitted before, too. I mean, if there is a guy who could submit Keith Jardine, it's most definitely Gracie. But the guy has very good takedown defense, too. So I think that's the toughest thing. Not to mention, I'd say Keith Jardine has the better chin. Gracie, we saw, even though it was against King Mo Lawal, the guy showed us what his chin's truly like if he is to take shots. So what it comes down to, I mean, it's either, if anybody's to submit Keith Jardine, it's Gracie. And if anybody is to knock out Gracie, it's Keith Jardine. I'm going to have to go, I mean, any day I'd probably take Gracie by submission, but given the fact that Keith Jardine has good takedown defense, good submission defense, I personally don't see, if Gracie to get down the guard, he's got a pull guard. I don't see him taking down Keith Jardine with a double or a single or anything like that. He's got to either pull guard or he's got to catch a leg kick. I don't see that happening. I see Gracie not being able to get this fight down the ground and winning this, and being defeated in this fight and getting either TKO'd or knocked out by Keith Jardine. So I'll take Keith Jardine in this fight. The next fight of the night is the welterweight championship. It's Tyron Woodley versus Nate Marquardt. Now, this is Nate Marquardt's debut. He's been out of the octagon a long time. That's the thing. Ring rust is definitely a factor. He's obviously dropping down a weight class, too, from middleweight, so that's also an interesting factor as well. He's going to be the bigger guy in this fight. Nate Marquardt is a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Lots of wins by submission. The guy has a very, very tricky guard, and he does, I mean, you name it. In the stamp department, the guy has, he's really a balanced mixed martial arts, but and he does have good power in his hands. He can finish fights. That's what Marquardt can do. He can finish fights. And the one thing, though, has been his Achilles heel has been wrestlers. If you go back and look, he has lost to wrestlers or people with grappling backgrounds. Yushin Okami, Chael Sonnen, the list goes on and on and on. And if there's any guy who can defeat Marquardt, it's most definitely a guy like Woodley. Woodley is an outstanding wrestler. The guy gets the fight down to the ground, and he has unbelievable ground control. He's going to hold you down to the ground. The one thing about Woodley is that Woodley is explosive. He's very fast. In the stand-up department, I mean, we haven't really seen what his chin's like, because once he gets out of his comfort zone, he's going to dump you down to the ground. That's his world down there. He can win fights by submission. He's not going to submit Nate Marquardt in this fight. There's no way. He is a purple belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but he's not the better submission fighter in this fight. But if he is to be successful, it's to get Nate Marquardt down to the ground. However, being that it's a championship fight, there is 5 rounds. So Nate Marquardt has a chance to be on his feet for 5 rounds. Where I see this one coming down to it, any day, I take Woodley because it's a safe bet. Wrestlers do fare well against Marquardt, but I think Marquardt's hungry. He's been out of the octagon a long time. It's not doubting Woodley's how hungry he is, but I see Marquardt getting a chance to be on his feet 5 times. I'm not saying he's going to get dumped on the ground every time. He's the bigger guy. He's the stronger guy. I see him testing Woodley's chin. He's going to throw volume. He's going to throw strikes. I see Marquardt winning this fight by either TKO or knockout. You know, he could throw in a submission in there too. He's much better submission practitioner in this fight, but I see Nate Marquardt finishing this fight in some format. So I'll take Nate Marquardt, TKO, knockout, submission, you name it. He's going to beat Woodley. The last fight of the night, obviously the main event. It is a 5-round fight, obviously. It's Kennedy versus Rockhold. So where it comes down to is that both guys are very skilled grapplers. I mean, Kennedy is, Kennedy has won a majority of his fights by submission. The guy has a steel chin. The guy does not get knocked out. I mean, the only time he's been TKO'd, I believe, was due to cut. And underrated stand-up game, I mean, it's not outstanding, but he has an underrated stand-up game. He can most definitely stand up. I don't think it would be the best of ideas against a fighter like Rockhold, whose striking continues to develop and get even better every fight, especially training at AKA. But Kennedy is one of those grapplers who will take you down, use ground control, and then definitely try and lock in a submission. But I don't see him winning this fight on the ground. If anything, if Kennedy's to win this fight, it's either by decision or he could very well catch Rockhold. I think Kennedy definitely has the better chin in this fight. But if he is to win, it's either by decision or it's by knockout. I don't see him knocking out Rockhold, though. I mean, watch it happen now. But I don't see him knocking out Rockhold. I think we're going to see a grappling war in this fight. Then you have a guy like Rockhold. He's training at AKA. He's starting to become a very dynamic striker. He works in a lot of leg kicks. He's starting to find his hands. He's very aggressive too, and he can also pick his spots as well. He's calm and collected. He's aggressive. He's finding that happy balance. And he's added a lot of weapons to his arsenal. He really does know how to finish fights. Obviously, his last fight was against Keith Jardine, who I'm actually picking to win his fight on this card. But he's a tough guy. He has been knocked out before. It was early on in his career, but that does put up a warning flag, though, especially against a guy like Kennedy, especially in a 5-round fight, especially a guy who's very difficult to finish. So I think that's an interesting factor. And he is a brown belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He does win a variety of his fights by submission. He did wrestle until he realized that he did want to pursue a career in mixed martial arts. So I think it'd be very interesting. I mean, this could be an exciting fight if it stays standing. It could be an exciting fight in a grappling standpoint. It's not going to be something that appeals to the average fan, but I would not sleep on Kennedy in this fight. I will be picking Rockhold winning this fight via unanimous decision. I don't see him finishing Kennedy in this fight, but I would not sleep on Kennedy at all. I could definitely see Kennedy winning this fight, but I'm going to have to go with the favor and take Rockhold in this fight, say he wins unanimous decision, but I would not be surprised one bit if Kennedy wins. The guy's a gamer. He always comes to fight, and he could very well bring it to Rockhold in this fight. So I'll take So those are my predictions. I'm going to take Rockhold winning unanimous decision. I'll take Marquardt via knockout, TKO and submission, any of those. I'll take Jardine via TKO or knockout, and I'll also take Lorenz Larkin winning via unanimous decision. So those are my picks for the main card and the Strikeforce card that's taking place tomorrow. So hopefully wherever you're watching, you enjoy the fights. That's why for this edition, it's Kyle Delaney signing off. I'm out of here.